umekuja? Share screen kweli. I want to see them here. We go on. Uso. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you are woken up well. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're keeping safe. So I'd like us to start the lesson as we wait for others to join us. Yesterday I sent you the questions that we're going to be discussing today. I sent you 2 questions, and it is my hope that you looked at the questions and tried to come up with points that would answer that question. So straight away, I want us to go to the first question. That is, and I'm sure you have your book there with you. You have the PAL. Ensure that you have the PAL with you because we'll be referring to it. Remember, the questions and the answers are in the text. So I expect you to be having the text with you. That is the PAL. And of course, we're writing material. And this lesson is going to be interactive. It's going to be interactive. So I will expect participation from you. So we do it together. Now, the first question that I'd sent was, wealth and money does not guarantee happiness. And with illustrations from John Steinbeck's The Pearl, validate this statement. So here we need to look at the key points or the key words in the question. And the first statement actually is those are the key words. The first statement, that wealth, money, is not a guarantee to happiness. Now, in this question, we need to look at, and of course, we're basing our argument, our illustrations from the Pearl. So we need to look at we need to identify the characters or the character that comes into wealth. And then we determine how does it affect his life, or how does that make him unhappy? Or instead of bringing him happiness, how does this coming into wealth contribute to his pain and suffering? And since we have read the book, we only know that, we know it's only Kino who comes into some wealth. And as we read the text, we can see how it does not bring him happiness. So the first thing you need to do is to understand the question. Understand the question. And even before you start writing, in your mind, you try to figure out what points are you going to put down to support that statement that wealth and money does not guarantee happiness. So we need to, first of all, write the introduction. We need to write an introduction. And in our introduction, remember, your introduction always should demonstrate that you understand the question. So the purpose of the introduction is to demonstrate to the examiner that you understand the question. You understand the task at hand. And like we have always said, remember that in your introduction, you should not repeat the words of the question, or you should, as much as possible, avoid repeating the words of the question. And you should not rewrite the question as the introduction. It should be something different. And the most important thing is, do you understand the question? Do you understand the question? That is what you are looking at in the introduction. That is what the examiner is looking at in the introduction, that you demonstrate an understanding of the question. So I don't know whether you wrote an introduction. I expect that you wrote one. And I'd like somebody to give us an introduction, what they wrote. I have 85 participants, and I'll pick at random. I'll pick at random. So I will unmute you so that you give us your introduction, or the introduction that you wrote. So I have somebody, Brian Ikinya. Brian Ikinya. Brian. Yes, Brian, go on. If Brian is not available, we'll have somebody else. Alan Dongo. Alan, I'm going to unmute you, Alan Dongo, and I'm muting you so that you give us the introduction. Welcome. I can't unmute all.
Oh, okay. Okay. But you have them with you right at the moment. Okay.
For the introduction, we can have something like this, that being rich is not always a ticket to happiness. Being rich is not always a ticket to happiness. One may be rich, but this does not mean he is happy. And then Wana and Kino have the pearl that if sold would earn a lot of money, or in other words, it would make them very rich. Now, this newfound treasure, however, robs them of the happiness they had there before. This newfound treasure, however, robs them of the happiness they had there before. So human beings, we expect that when we come into some wealth, that we will be happy, but that is not the case when we focus on Wana and Kino. And even before they got the pearl of the world, we note that they were a happy couple. They may not have been talking a lot, but we can see that they are contented, they are happy. But then when they come to this newfound, or this treasure, because the pearl is a treasure, when they come into it, that happiness that was even there before is not there. They are robbed of that happiness. So in that introduction, we have demonstrated the understanding that happiness and that wealth or riches does not guarantee happiness. Now, if you look at that introduction, so I will read it again so that you pay attention. Being rich is not always a ticket to happiness. One may be rich, but does not mean he is happy. Wana and Kino have the pearl that if sold would earn a lot of money. This newfound treasure, however, robs them of the happiness they had there before. So in my introduction, I have tried as much as possible to avoid using the words of the question. So in the question, we had wealth and money. And in my introduction, I have rich. So happiness remains. And then I have treasure. And then I have a contrasting word there, however. However, that shows, on the contrary, we expected that happiness, that the riches or wealth will bring happiness, but that is not the case. So in that introduction, so if somebody has an introduction like that, the examiner will see that they have demonstrated the understanding of the question. Now, the introduction can also be specific. So if you look at that introduction, I've started from a general perspective. It is very general. And then it is only in the third sentence that I mentioned the Wana and Kino. So I started from a general perspective and then to a specific, now coming to the specific task that the examiner expects me to be looking at. Now, your introduction can also be specific. Can also be specific. In this case, you'd have something like, when Wana and Kino get the pearl of the world, when Wana and Kino get the pearl of the world, they expect their world to change for the better. So when Wana and Kino get the pearl of the world, they expect their world to change for the better, or they expected to be comfortable in life. However, this is not the case. However, this is not the case because the pearl brings them a lot of pain and suffering. It brings them a lot of pain and suffering. Now that introduction in itself is enough. Now your introduction should not be very long. 2 to 3 sentences are enough. You don't have to struggle to write a whole paragraph of an introduction. 2 to 3 sentences, enough. The most important thing, demonstrate that you have understood the question. Now, if you go to the points that we expect in this question, and we are focusing on Kino and Wana, because these are the people who come into some wealth in the pearl. So so for my first point, I'll give you the first point, and then I'll expect you to get the introduction. I'll give you a few minutes to look for the point, for the support material and the supporting points. Now, for the first point, where we see that first, the pearl turns Wana and Kino against each other. It turns Wana and Kino against each other. So we have said, I mentioned that at the beginning, when the book starts, Kino and Wana, they live in harmony. They don't talk much, but there is that harmony in them. When Kino sits looking at the ocean or at the beach, he can even without looking, he knows what Wana is doing. That shows a lot of harmony. They know each other, they understand each other. So, but when they get the pearl, it turns them against each other. Or in other words, it destroys the peace and harmony the two have enjoyed there before. Or you can call it, it brings about family conflict and turbulence in the once calm, happy home. It brings family conflict and turbulence in the once calm, happy home. So very quickly, think of the points to support that, the illustrations of that the pearl brings family conflict, in the family conflict and turbulence. In the once calm and happy home, very quickly think about the points that will support that. Just jot them down very quickly. I'm giving you a few minutes. And even as you think about the points, remember we focus on episodes. Remember the episodic approach that we had discussed before we closed school. So think of episodes, think of instances where these two have a conflict within themselves or between themselves that is brought about by the pearl. Shamala, we are waiting for you. Shamala.
Sure, can you give me a while? I'm taking breakfast.
All right. If you're ready, you can raise up your hand so that we move fast. Kaitum, huku switch on hapa kuja. It's running. It will go off anytime. Hapa you do switch on. Shamala, are you ready?
No.
Shamala, you ready?
I'm not yet ready.
No, you're taking too long. So let me give you the what I expect so that we move faster. So we have said that the pearl turns Wana and Kino against each other, or the family conflict. Now, where we see that the evil power of the pearl is strong enough to bring violence or to make Kino violent, where we see that Wana strongly feels that the pearl will destroy them, and she urges Kino that they should throw it away, but Kino will have none of it because he sees this as their only chance to get out of poverty. And then so you look, your focus should be on page 79 page 79, page 80, page 83. I hope you're not taking down the pages, page 79, page 80, page 83. So in all these pages, Wana tries to convince Kino that they should throw away the pearl, that they should crush it between two rocks and throw it away. And when she fails to convince him, she attempts to do it herself. She attempts to throw the pearl away herself. And Kino is enraged. He's very angry, very annoyed. He's enraged. He follows Wana as she attempts to go and throw the pearl into the ocean. He follows her, and we're told that his brain in red anger. His brain is in red anger. Yes, we have not seen a situation before. We've not seen a situation where he has been angry with Wana, but now his brain is in red anger, and as she raises her arm to throw the pearl into the ocean, we are told that Kino leapt at her and caught her arm and wrenched, not even took, but wrenched. So when the writer uses wrenched, that is WRENCHED, wrenched the pearl from her. That means that he used force. He's not taking it casually, or he's not taking it softly, or just taking it. He wrenched the pearl from her. That means he used force to get it from her. Then after that, he strikes her in the face with his clenched fist. He strikes her in the face with his clenched fist. She falls among the boulders, and Kino kicked her on the side. She falls among the boulders, and Kino kicked her in the side. He looks down at her with his bad teeth. So he's very, at this particular moment, he's very angry, violent. Then he hisses at her like a snake. He hisses at her like a snake. So you can see that anger. So there's that conflict, there's that turbulence, the violence in the home, and this has come about as a result of the pearl, or this newfound wealth or treasure. So he hisses at her. He looks down at her with his bad teeth. That tells us that at this particular point, that anger, he has so much anger that it has made him inhuman. The writer uses bad teeth. We know normally it is animals that do that. He says like a snake. So this tells us of the anger, that at this point he's not behaving, or he's not thinking like a human being. He's like an animal. And we are told that Wana knows there is murder in him. Wana knows there is murder in him, and she is afraid. She knows there's murder in him, and she is afraid. So when they were poor, there was peace, there was harmony, but now, as a result of the pearl, or the treasure, there is turbulence, there's violence. So look at page 79, page 83, and page 80. So when you look at that incident, then it tells us how the pearl, or this newfound treasure, has changed the life of this couple. I hope that one is clear. I hope it's clear. So now we go to the second point. The second point is where Kino and Wana suffer constant attacks. They suffer constant attacks because of the pearl. Now go to page 58. Page 58, where we have the first attack. Page 58, page 79 and 80. Page 79 and 80. page 84 and 85. So now that they have the treasure, they have the pearl, and people want to get this pearl from them. They want to get it from them at whatever cost, even if it means killing them. So they suffer from constant attacks, so such that they have to be on the lookout all the time. So if they're on the lookout all the time, then they are not happy. They are suffering. Now, I think I forgot to mention that when you come to the body of your essay, try to answer the question in your first sentence, the topic sentence. The topic sentence should answer the question. Remember, the question here is wealth and money does not guarantee happiness. So if you look at the first point that we have just finished, it brings about family conflict and turbulence in the once calm, happy home. So in that case, we have answered the question that if, in spite of the fact that they have the pearl, there is conflict. So we have answered that question, the question in that part. Then when you come to the second part, the second point, that is, we have said that Kino and Wana suffer constant attacks because of the pearl. So if it is, they're suffering constant attacks, that means, of course, that they are not happy, in spite of the fact that they have the pearl. So in other words, we have answered the question in the first sentence. So your topic sentence, you should always try. Sometimes it may not be possible, but you should always try as much as possible to answer the question in the first sentence. So the topic sentence answers the question, then you give your illustrations. Now for the second point, I've given you the illustrations, or the areas or the pages where to get that illustration. The attacks. The attacks, we have the first attack in page 58. That is immediately after the doctor's visit. Immediately after that visit, they are attacked. Kino is attacked in his heart. You're told of the dark thing that comes into the house. His head is crushed with lightning and exploded in pain. He felt warm blood running down from his forehead. So go to page 58, look at the details of that attack and how he suffers as a result of the attacks. He's left bleeding. He suffers. We are told that his head exploded with pain as a result of the attack. Then on page 29 to page 80, where we are told that he's attacked again outside his brush house. He's attacked outside his brush house, and he's left lying on the ground, struggling to rise. Then blood oozes from his scalp, and he has a long, deep cut in his cheek from ear to chin, a deep bleeding slash. He's only half conscious. And then we also have the attack that happens at the beach, where we're told of the greedy fingers searched him, and when they leave him, he can hardly move, and he's left unconscious. All this because he has the pearl. And then, of course, we also are told of that when he sets out for the capital, he is followed by the 3 trackers. He is not at peace. He has to constantly look over his shoulders as various forces seek to attack him, to steal the treasure from him. So this is what the treasure has brought him: a lot of pain and suffering from the constant attacks from forces that want to take the pearl from him. And I hope that one is clear. I've given you the pages, please. After this, go to those pages, read those episodes, ensure that you master that episode. Now, for example, if it is the first attack, look at the first attack. Where does it happen? When? And that is how you master the book. Where does it happen? When? And after the attack, how is Kino? How is Kino? Then you go to the second one, page 79, page 80, outside his house or outside his brush house. Look at it, get all the details of that attack. Who is attacking him? And at the end of that, how is Kino? How is Kino? Now we are told that he's left lying on the ground, struggling to rise. Blood oozes from his scalp. He has a long, deep cut in his cheek from ear to chin, a deep bleeding slash. Now it is important that you get those details. Those details, those are the details that the examiner is looking for. If it has caused him a lot of pain, the constant attacks, so you simply don't mention that he is attacked. You need to give the details of the attacks to really show that at the end of it, he is not a happy person. Then we go to the third point. The third point is where we see that Kino's fortune results in the loss of his property. Kino's fortune results in the loss of his property, or the little property that he had. Again, at that point, we have answered the question that instead of bringing him happiness, of course, when he loses his property, the little that he had, he's not a happy person. So we have answered the question in the first sentence, or in the topic sentence. So what is the property that he loses? What property does he lose? So we go to page 87. Page 87. Page 87. This is where we have the loss of the boat. Page 87 is where we have the loss of the boat. So go to page 87, read that episode, and please always ensure that when you are told to do something, do it. So read page 87, where we are told of a great hole that is knocked at the bottom of his canoe. This canoe is very important to him. It has been handed over to him from his grandfather. It was valuable to him because he says that a man with a boat was assured that his family will eat. And then if you go to page 87, we'll see the attachment that he has to that boat or to that canoe, that it is evil. So the person who did that, it pains him a lot because a canoe or a boat does not have, he says it doesn't have, it cannot defend itself. The canoe cannot defend itself. He says that this was an evil beyond thinking. The killing of a man was not so evil as the killing of a boat. For a boat does not have sons, and a boat cannot protect itself, and a wounded boat does not heal. And for Kino, there was sorrow in Kino's range, but this last thing had tightened him beyond breaking. So when he loses the canoe, it really, really pains him because the writer tells there was sorrow in his rage. He's annoyed, he's angry, and very sad for losing that canoe. It was very valuable. It was very valuable to him. Then on page 88, the next page, on page 88, we're told of the loss of his brush house. His brush house is burnt down after everything has been torn up. So people entered his brush house, they tore it down, they dug the floor, the baby's box had been turned out. And then finally, after turning it out or digging it out and all that they did, vandalizing it, they burnt it down. So he loses his brush house. And all this happens as they try to get Kino's pearl. Kino loses everything, and now he has to flee. He has to run away. So the third point in that case is the loss of the little property that he had. Then the fourth point is where that the pearl brings or results in the death of Kayotito, his son. The pearl brings death to Kino and his family. That is the death of Kayotito, the death of Kayotito. Now, if you remember, when Kino got the pearl, one of his greatest dreams or desires with the pearl was for Kayotito to go to school. He even pictured Kayotito sitting and writing in school, that his son would go to school. His son would know the things of the white paper, will know books, and through him, they would also know. So those are the dreams that he has for Kayotito. But instead, those dreams that he has for Kayotito, the dreams that he had for Kayotito do not come to happen because we see Kayotito dies. So the greatest pain for Kino, this is the greatest pain for Kino when he loses his son. It is very painful for him. Now, again, in this case, we go to page 114. Page 114. Now you look at the details. How did Kayotito die? We'll give the details. To support that point, now you go to the details of how Kayotito died. How did Kayotito die? We see that Kino and Wana are on their way to the capital to sell the pearl. And hot in pursuit, or in their pursuit, are the attackers. So you give that kind of background information. So where are they? They are on their way to the capital to sell the pearl. And hot in pursuit, or in their pursuit, are the attackers. Then it is nightfall. When night falls, Wana and Kino decide to shelter in a cave. They're in a cave. And Kino is prepared to attack the trackers. He's prepared to attack the trackers. Then Wana cannot make Kayotito stop crying. Wana cannot stop Kayotito from crying. And one of the trackers shoots in the dark, thinking it is a coyote. Thinks it's a coyote. And that single bullet kills Kayotito. Now, Wana cries at the loss of her son. Now, if you look at what the writer tells us, it was too painful for Wana. That is on page 115, sorry, page 115. This is where we have the reaction after the death of Kayotito. Where we're told that, and then Kino's brain cleared from its red concentration, and he knew the sound, the keening, moaning, rising hysterical cry from the little cave in the side of the stone mountain, the cry of death, the cry of death. So Wanda cries at the loss of her son, and this cry, keening, moaning, rising hysterical cry. So this is a person who is in a lot of pain, a lot of pain. And then we see that their pain is so great that when they go back to La Paz, the people say that the two seemed to be removed from human experience. So as they go back, people don't even, the way they come, people just looked at them because they seemed to be removed from human experience, meaning that they were in a lot of pain, that they had gone through pain and had come out on the other side. So as they walk side by side, they're not talking, but people are even afraid to talk to them because they seemed to be removed from human experience. And this is as a result of the pain that they had gone through. That is on page 116. So you'll see their pain on page 163. So read the last paragraph of page 116. You'll see their pain. It was pain beyond description, removed from human experience. Normally, we are expected to have 4 points. We have 4 points, but there's an extra one, and this one it is your assignment. You will look for illustration, it's clear. It brings Kino physical injury. Wealth or the treasure brings Kino physical injury. Again, we have answered the question. We have answered the question in the first sentence or in the topic sentence, brings Kino physical injury. Now, I said when we were looking at point number 2? Yes, in point number 2, I told you to go to those episodes where they are the attacks. So in point number 2, we were looking at the attacks. In point number 5, you look at the physical injuries themselves. So you'll go back to those episodes, look at the physical injuries that Kino has as a result of the fact that he possesses the greatest pearl or the pearl of the world. So physical injury. So page 58, focus on page 58, page 79 and 80, page 84, 85. So now after you've written your 4 points, and remember when you're writing your paragraphs, I've seen in some cases, people do not, you don't, your paragraphs do not stand out. It should be very clear that this is my paragraph number 1, this is my paragraph number 2. Yes, I'm not saying you number them, but it should be clear. They should be set out. We know how to write a paragraph. You can either use the block style, in which case you leave some space. And for me, I think that is better. Or you can start your paragraph a few inches from the margin so that your paragraph stands out, that it is clear that this is my first paragraph, this is my second paragraph, this is my third paragraph, and so on and so forth. So, and ensure that your paragraphs stand out that this is a paragraph, this is my other paragraph, so that you don't have one big paragraph and yet all your points are in there, because the examiner will be looking at a paragraph per paragraph. The examiner marks a paragraph, then goes to the other paragraph. So if your paragraphs are not standing out, or if they're not distinct, then you stand to lose, because to be looked at as one paragraph. So ensure that you paragraph your work clearly. Then when it comes to the conclusion, 2 sentences or even 1 sentence, just conclude. So after all this, what is the verdict? What do you conclude? What is the verdict? And in your conclusion, you can let the examiner know that you have come to the end, or you have come to the end of your essay. So you can use a signal or the signpost, the language signpost. For example, you can say in conclusion, to conclude, to sum up, in summary. And in your conclusion, be brief. You can use a proverb. And what the examiner looks at or looks for in this in the conclusion is whether the conclusion is valid. Is it valid as far as what you have discussed in the essay is concerned? Is it a valid conclusion? So the examiner will be looking at whether that conclusion is valid. So for example, in this case, we can say that from the above illustration, it is quite clear that money does not buy happiness. Money does not buy happiness. Instead, it has the potential to wreak havoc in the lives of those who have it. Simple and clear conclusion. So your conclusion should be valid. It should be in line with what you have, discussed. It can be a summary of what you have discussed. For example, you can say that Kino has the pearl of the world, but it brings him untold suffering. It breaks his family, or it brings conflict in his family. It makes him suffer constant attacks. It makes him lose his property. And the ultimate loss is the loss of his son. So if you have a question as far as that, or an addition as far as that essay is concerned, let me hear it. If anybody has an addition, just raise up your hand. Let me see if you have any addition or any question. Yes, Baraka. Baraka.
Oh, teacher.
Baraka.
Am I audible?
Yes?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, so I was asking in accordance to this question.
Yes?
In accordance to this question, can we also relate it to the doctor, where we see he's rich but is not contented with what he has? Can we also say that in his situation, he's not happy even though he's rich?
Now, how do we know that he's not happy? How will you support that?
We can see that as he is taking his meals, the day Kino was taking the doctor, he was not contented with what he was eating and the way he behaved doesn't seem happy.
I don't think we will include the doctor in this case, because for the doctor it is not, he's yes, he is rich, but for him it is content, not being contented. But here we are looking at money and wealth not bringing happiness, bringing sadness, unfortunate things. But for the doctor, it is not being contented. We don't see him suffering as a result of the fact that he has money. He's not contented. He still wants more. So for the doctor, we would not include him in this. I hope it's clear.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Anybody else? Eric Mutua?
Excuse me,
Eric? Yes?
Can the fifth point and the third point,
yes?
For the fifth point and the second point, the constant attacks and the physical injury.
I can't hear you, Eric. Be loud, be clear.
For the fifth point,
yes,
it brings physical injury, and the second
physical
point,
injuries, yes.
Constant attacks. How do you exactly differentiate them if you are to write them in
that's the fifth and the second point. Eric, you're asking the fifth and the second point? Now, when you look at the second point, yes, the second point, I concentrated more on the attacks. The attacks.
Yes.
Who attacks him? Where? All right.
Yes.
Yes. But then again, when I came to the fifth point, the fifth point, I want you to now concentrate on giving me the description, the description of the physical attack. I mean, the injuries themselves. So in the second point, look at the attacks. Where is he? What happens? Okay. Are you clear, Eric? Then the fifth point, talk about the physical injuries themselves.
So in the fifth point, you talk about the physical injury and how.
Yes, you describe the physical injuries, right?
Excuse me, Chair. Which one was the first point?
Now, the first point I said is the family conflict and turbulence in the once calm, happy home. Or you can talk about destroying the peace and harmony in the family, putting Wana and Kino against each other. You get my point?
Yes.
Yes. Anybody else? Okemwa, Odari? Anybody else? Now, if there is no other question, I'll go to the second question. The second question. The question was Wana and Kino. Wana and Kino complement each other in the family. Write an essay in support of this statement, drawing your illustrations from the pile by John Steinbeck. So first of all, we need to understand what is to complement each other. What is to complement each other? Can somebody answer me that? Somebody give me an answer to that one. What is to complement? So we need to understand, complement each other. Somebody raise up your hand. Let me know. Do you understand what is to complement each other?
Let me try. I think it's one needs the other for survival, or a person needs the other for like survival or something like that. Yeah, they need each other.
They need each other.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true. Or they contribute, they improve or emphasize the qualities of the other. One needs the other. Okay, they complement each other. That is, they contribute extra features or traits to improve the other person. Okay, so in our introduction, now that one I will leave you to write the introduction. That is your assignment. Write the introduction for this. But as you write the introduction, maybe you can focus on what is expected in a relationship, because we know that there are not two people who are the same. In a relationship, people are different. In marriage, people are different. But these individuals, in their strengths and their weaknesses, they should complement each other. Maybe somebody's strength complements the weakness of the other person. Maybe you can capture something like that. So each individual should use their strength to support one another or to support the other. Or they should use their strength to cover for the weakness of the other person, which is the case in Warner and John Stein, Warner and Kino. They complement, they're not the same. They're not the same character. They don't have the same character traits. So, but Warner's strength complements or supports Kino's weakness. So they're not the same, but they complement each other, and especially for the survival of the family. Now, I'll give you the skeleton. It is up to you to put the flesh. So I've given you an idea of what to write in the introduction. That is, that individuals have their strengths, they have their weaknesses. In a relationship, one's strength should strengthen the weakness of the other character. And this is what you see in Warner and Kino. Is that okay? Good. Now, for the first point, we will focus on the scorpion incident. When Coyotito, or that early morning, when Coyotito, or when they see a scorpion about to strike Coyotito, to start with, that is when they see a scorpion, both of them, they see a scorpion about to strike Coyotito. Now, what is the reaction of each one of them? Now, Warner, what does Warner do? Warner repeated an ancient magic to guard against evil and muttered her Hail Marys between clenched teeth, but she's not doing anything. On the other hand, we see Kino taking action. Warner is just praying. Ancient magic prayer, the Hail Mary with clenched teeth, but doing nothing. On the other hand, we have Kino moving towards the scorpion with a lot of caution, noiselessly and smoothly. So in this case, the compliment comes here in Warner is doing nothing, but on the other hand, Kino moves towards takes action, moves towards the scorpion with a lot of caution, noiselessly, smoothly, to do something so that he can, he can protect the baby. Then after that, after the baby has been stung, what happens? Now it is like the roles are now reversed. Kino is preoccupied with beating the scorpion. He beats the scorpion, stomping it until it was only a fragment and a moist place in the dirt. But on the other hand, it is now action time for Warner. What is Warner doing? Warner is busy sucking out as much poison as she can out of Coyotito's wound in an attempt to save his life. this is a practical thing to do. You see, when Kino is killing the scorpion, I mean, it has already, the damage is already done. So the practical thing here would be to take care of the baby, and that is what Wana does. Because killing the scorpion is really not helping. The damage is already done. But on the other hand, we have Kino, I mean, we have Wana, who is doing everything possible in an attempt to save the life of the baby, which is the practical thing to do. So they complement each other. Now, Kino is so angry with the scorpion, he's venting his anger on the scorpion instead of focusing on the baby. But on the other hand, we have somebody to cover for that weakness, in where we have Wana sucking out the poison as much as possible, as much as she could, to save the baby. So that is how they complement each other. So when you look at the scorpion incident, well, at first, Kino seems to be the man of action, moving towards the baby with a caution, noiselessly, smoothly. But on the other hand, Wana is just praying. But then when when the baby has been stung, it's now like the roles are changed or they are reversed. Wana is now the person of action. Kino, it is irrational. Why is he killing the scorpion? First of all, his focus now should be on the baby, but that is not what he's concentrating on. So that is how they complement each other. So when one fails to do something, the other one is there to do that. So the first point is on their reaction, that is a scorpion incident. So go to page 21, page 22, you'll get the details there. Page 21, page 22. So, and you're going to focus on the reaction of each one of them before and after. So that is how they complement each other. I hope that is clear. Then the second point is where we see Wana inspiring hope in an otherwise hopeless situation. Wana inspires hope in an otherwise hopeless situation. So page 102, if you go to page 102, where we see when Kino realizes that the trackers were following them, we are told that he's overcome by a helplessness and a hopelessness that sweeps over him. Page 102, you get all those details there, that when he realizes that the trackers were following them, he's overcome, or he's swept over by a helplessness and a hopelessness. He's hopeless, he is helpless and hopeless. And he suggests that he should, probably he should let the trackers take him. He says, perhaps I should let them take me. So this is a moment of weakness for Kino. He's helpless, he's hopeless, and it suggests that maybe he should let the trackers take him. He should give himself up to the trackers. But then Wana, we are told instantly, Wana instantly offers Kino encouragement. She instantly offers Kino encouragement. And I like what the writer says. The writer says, page 102, instantly, so Kino says, and then we are told, and then a helplessness and a hopelessness swept over him, and his face went black, and his eyes were sad. Perhaps I should let them take me. And then the writer tells us, instantly, Wana was on her feet, and her hand lay on his arm. You have a pearl, she cried hoarsely. Do you think they would take you back alive and say they had stolen it? His hand strayed limply to the place where the pearl was hidden under his clothes. They'll find it, he said weakly. So this is a moment of weakness for him. He's helpless, he's he is hopeless. It's like he's lost hope that he is ever going to survive the trackers. Then we are told that instantly Warner offers encouragement. She tells him if he gave himself up, the trackers would kill him, his wife, and their children. And Kino is able to see her point of view and decides to fight on. So she gives him encouragement. She gives him the encouragement to go on, to soldier on, because being hopeless at this point, it will mean the death of all of them. So at that point, Warner comes in to complement Kino at this point of his weakness. So go to page 102, page 102, page 103. You will see. So read that episode. So she comes in to support him, encourage him that they should not give up at this point because it would be the death of all of them. So Kino was ready to give himself up, but Warner instantly she was on her feet. That she tells him that you cannot do this. It will be the death of all of us. So that is point number 2. Point number 3, it is where Warner becomes a voice of sanity when Kino appears to be headed for self-destruction. Kino appears to be headed for self-destruction, but Warner is there as a voice of sanity. Warner is there as a voice of sanity. So the point is, Warner becomes a voice of sanity when Kino appears to be headed for self-destruction. Headed for self-destruction, but Warner is there as a voice of sanity. So go to page 80. On page 80, she tells Kino that the pearl is evil and they should do away with it. They should crush it between 2 stones and throw it away. But Kino asserts that he is a man. He asserts that he's a man. And when he looks at Warner, or when Warner hears those words, I am a man, she understands that he would do anything to preserve his pearl. He'll do anything to preserve his pearl. And at that point, Warner decides to stand by him, to go with him wherever he goes. So she decides to go with him, to be there with him, to be the voice of reason. So she decides at that point that this man has become so obsessed with this pearl. And especially when he says, I am a man. So it means, or one understands that this is somebody who will do anything, even endangering his life for the pearl. So she decides to go with him, to be there with him, because she sees that she is the voice of reason in this matter. She's the one who can, who is reasonable, who can reason with him when he becomes unreasonable. And then, that is page 80. On page 86, the same point, when Kino kills a man, he kills a man and he thinks that he can defend himself since he was the one who had been attacked. Now on page 86, you go to page 86. Warner tells Kino that they must go before the daylight comes. But Kino says, I was attacked. Kino said uneasily, I was struck to save my life. So he thinks that he can, so Kino thinks that he can defend himself by saying that he was the one who had been attacked. But then Kino, Warner comes and reminds him that he stands no chance, because they will not understand that he was attacked. And he reminds him the events of the previous day. Do you remember yesterday? He tells him, do you remember yesterday? Wana asked. Do you think that will matter? Do you remember the men of the city? Do you think your explanation will help? So Kino stands no chance here. He has killed a man. And now that he's a wanted man since he has the pearl. So nobody will listen to him. Nobody will understand that he had been attacked. So Wana now is the voice of reason here, tells him that we must go away before daylight comes, because nobody is going to understand that his explanation will not matter, since there are stronger forces against them. So in this case, remember in the topic sentence we say that Wana is the voice of reason when Kino appears to be headed for self-destruction. Self-destruction in the sense that he wants to stay, he has the pearl, and he has killed a man, and he thinks that people will understand that he was defending himself. Of course, that is not going to be possible. He's a wanted man since he has the pearl. And then again, the first illustration we said about wanting to throw the pearl away. She wanted to throw the pearl away because it is evil. Yes, she's the voice of reason, because the pearl has brought them a lot of untold suffering. But then when she sees that Kino is not ready to part with the pearl, she decides to stick with the man, to be there with him for encouragement, for support. So she becomes now the voice of reason there. So she complements Kino's, that aspect of Kino's weakness of being reckless, headed for self-destruction. And she's there as the voice of reason. And then the last point number 4, is where we see Kino providing support to Wana providing support to Kino during his low moments. Go to page 73. On page 73, page 75, and page 76. So Wana provides support during his low moments. So the first instance is where we see Kino suspects that the pearl dealers were cheating him of the real value of the pearl, Wana tagged out at his back. Wana tagged at his back. So tagging at his back, that is support. He supports, she supports her husband. So on page 73, he felt a little tagging. No, the crowd in the doorway wavered and broke and let the 3 pearl dealers through. The crowd was silent, now fearing to miss a word, to fail to see a gesture or an expression. Kino was silent and watchful. He felt a little tugging at his back, and he turned and looked in Wana's eyes, and when he looked away, he had a renewed strength. So when Wana tags at his back, he looked at her, and he looked at her eyes, and he got renewed strength. So that means Wana provides that needed support. Kino at this point needs that support. So that encouragement that he's doing the right thing. Then on page 75, that is when he storms out of the dealer's shop. When he storms out of the dealer's shop, everybody else just lets him pass, including his brother. They let him pass and go out. But Wana follows him, trotting after him. So that means he's supporting him. He's there with him all the time to give him support, to stand with him. Then on page 76, this is when Kino finally decides to go to the capital that night, later that night, when he decides to go to the capital. That night when he decides to go to the capital, he starts brooding on his sleeping mat. He started brooding on his sleeping mat. He's not talking. And I think he's troubled or in deep thought. So we're told that Wana watched him while he buried his pearl, and she watched him while she cleaned Kayotito and nursed him, and Wana made the corn cakes for supper. So she's watching him. She's not talking, but by looking at him, being there, so she understands that at this point, Kino does not need talking to. What Kino needs at this point is somebody to be there for him, somebody who understands him. So she just looked at him, and by looking at him, it is an assurance that she is with him. So go through those points, go through the points, go to the text, read those points, the episodes, and write the essay, and then you make a conclusion of the same. I don't know whether there is any question or any addition in that. Any question or any addition in that? Raise up your hand if you have any question. So if there's no question, we'll stop our lesson there. Thank you for participating. Please go through the essay, go to the page references that I have given. Make sure that you go to those page references. Read the whole, that particular episode. Read the episode, get all the details in those episodes, and that is how you master the book. So when you're given page references, ensure that you go to that particular page, read that particular incident or episode, and by so doing, you will master the text. So thank you, and please keep revising. Keep revising. If you have any issues, we are there. So don't just, you can contact us anytime. You can send your questions to your teachers through the WhatsApp forum, and they will be tackled. So wish you all the best. Wish you all the best. I encourage you to continue reading the text, and God bless you. Thank you. Over and out.
Mom.
Save your breakfast. If they read, shit's going.